I have a 2007 Infiniti M45 here. Today's project is replacing my brake pads. I've actually made a video like this in the past, more or less in this nature, but I feel like it was more theoretical because I called out things you should do, could do, but this time I actually bought parts from the store and I'll be replacing these parts. So I'll try to do, it's less instructional, more vlogish, but I will try to call out tools being used, parts needed, part numbers, and also call out like torque values. I'll try to do a better job of that. And to aid with this, as I said, it's more vlogish. I'm gonna get my clock to kind of just show, I'll have that over there, give you a real-time feel as to how long it would take to do the job, or at least how long it took me to do the job. Other people maybe could go faster in different respects, slower in different respects. And I also have a light over here. I intend to use this light, and hopefully it makes the video better. Let me actually turn it on right now so I can decide that. Versus, yep, a light it is. So we'll use a light, and I'll just get a little closer there and just keep rolling. That's it. So at this point, I already loosened the lug nuts on the vehicle before I raised it. That's just the way I usually do things. So let me see, will this work here? Maybe not. So what we'll do is this. It's 9:25. We'll just call it 9:25 and work from there. When I'm done, I'll just pick it up again and show what time it is. So I already loosened this. And let's work on calling part names and things like that. So most Nissan lug nuts that we deal with, 21 millimeters, and as I said, I believe I broke him loose. Yeah, for the most part. So this part, guess it shouldn't really be a bother to anybody really, but as I said, I'm gonna call out parts a little better. So this one here. And I realize that the light is now behind the camera. Let's move the light here. I don't know if it's any better. Let's see. Yeah, I think it is. So this one right here, 21 millimeter. I bought this from AutoZone, and man, I think that light is a little too bright now. 21 millimeter. Take my word for it. Bought it from AutoZone, and because this one is specifically made for lug nuts, it has this vinyl cover over it, and it's a skinnier lug. It's a skinnier socket to get into your holes a little easier. Okay, so 21 millimeters, and then I have this tool over here. This one is an Ingersoll Rand. I think people have been asking for the part number recently. So it's an Ingersoll Rand W5300. I hope it's visible, but so it's not such a torquey tool. I think maybe 150. I can't remember what the torque value is. And some of these tools have better torque going in than they have coming out. So I use it mainly to avoid that repetitive motion, having to keep doing that. That's why I use this tool. It's not really meant for, at least for me, it's not meant for torque busting. So it struggled a little bit, and you saw how little effort it took me to do it by hand. But it gets there. It just doesn't sound very good when it ratchets. Okay, and busted itself loose. In case I forget to mention this on the way back in, I think they usually want like 100. I can't remember the torque value. I'll consult. I'll check on that. I usually just get it and it's fine. It's gone. Okay, so loosen your lug nuts, not all the way, just like 2 turns. Jack and secure your vehicle. Take your wheel off. All the way off. And now what you have exposed is this is your brake rotor, and this is a rear wheel drive model, so the front wheel, as you can see, looks unoccupied here, and it also, I'll say, so there's nothing here, no axle or anything, and two, it's free spinning, free-ish. I need to check these brakes, make sure everything's good. So I'll go inside the car, push the button so I can turn this wheel this way, then you'll be able to see it. So this is a caliper, this is a rotor, and these are your lug studs. Alright, so here it is. This is the caliper facing us. There's a way, like I could zoom in, let me see if this helps, but when you inspect your pads, the way you're supposed to do is look through these windows over here, and I think I was able to see, I didn't like what I saw. It seemed like this pad was a lot thinner. The pad on the, let me zoom back out so you can see what I'm pointing at. So when I checked, it seemed like the pad on the other side was a little thinner than the pad on the outside. And likewise, the rotor seems to have worn more on the inside. Kind of makes sense. It's just the way the brake actuates. So first thing is that if you want to remove just the pad and nothing else, it's pretty easy, pretty straightforward. Let me zoom in. Yeah, better. What if I move the light? Is it gonna make it any better, any worse? Yeah, that's not gonna work. How about that? I guess that works unless I'm trying to show like part numbers and stuff, right? Actually, it does work. We'll make it work. Okay, let me go for the higher light now. Okay, we're back to that again. So here we have 14mm bolts, and on the way back in, the torque to tighten these two right here is 20 foot-pounds. I want to say it in the beginning in case you see me not using my torque wrench. At least you'll know what the correct number is. I'm well calibrated, by the way. Can read torques with my hand. So when you remove this, and I better remove it so that we can kind of keep talking, and it would make sense. You could either use for this, 14mm tools, a wrench. You could use a socket. What else? Don't use pliers or vice grips or something like that. So 14mm is what I got. So the challenge here is that you want to use something that will allow you to get through here. See this brake hose? It kind of gets in the way up top over here, right? A little bit. So, I mean, you could squeeze. It doesn't. It's your preference. It's not too badly off. It's not too badly in the way. Usually have to check with these. That's tightening. This is looser. So that's it. You do it right here as well. I sure hope that lighting is working right. So 20 foot-pounds, it's not really fighting you that much. Look at that. And I usually do my best to remove the bottom one first. Gold. Seems like someone replaced it. That's why it's gold. All gold plated. Next tool, this right here. It's just, call it a bucket. And it will come handy in a little bit. You'll be able to see why in just a little while. The purpose is that at some point I'm going to take this caliper, the caliper part of the bracket off, and when I take it off I don't want it dangling. Right now it's going to dangle off of this. You see this block right here? This is a 12mm nut. It's kind of a mess to take it apart and deal with it. So sometimes I try to find a suspension member in the back and have it dangle there. Usually, see this hole? I don't think right now it's visible. there's a hole right here in the suspension arm. This one right here, yeah, what you could do is just get a zip tie and tie this to the top to hold it up. So that, I'll leave that up to you. Usually when you need to replace brakes, as I said, just the bottom, if you're replacing just the brake pads, get the bottom and I swing it up. Right now I don't really know how far I'm gonna go. By the way, before taking it off, I need to check something. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's sliding much. The brake caliper is supposed to have a little bit of play. Just a little bit, okay? Anyway, so to replace the caliper, pretty easy. The pads, sorry. All you gotta do is this. Swing it up or swing it down sometimes, but I go up, especially, as I said, see how short this is? In the rear, I think you can swing it down, and maybe it's advisable to swing it down, but I swing it up front, and this is it. These are your brake pads. So as I said, I felt like this side was a little thinner than this side. So the slide pins do slide, but I did, you know, let me take it all off so I can do a proper demo. Why did I end up like making this a lecture? I intended to just do the job. However long it takes me, just remember that it takes half as much time when you do it yourself. It's just that I'm talking and teaching, instructing, and showing on video, so it's going to take a little longer that way. Okay, so this is the part I was talking about. Trying to figure out what to do with it. Perfect. Just put it on top. And then these bolts go here. And then this is the slide pin I was talking about, so let me zoom in to show you what I felt was happening here. So this, see this kind of, why did it jump off? It's supposed to hold on to there, and when it slides, you can see, so this butt right here is very weak. Kind of comes off. And can you hear the sound? There's a little bit of grease going on. The bottom one, however, like it's worn. It slides, yeah, but I guess it came off at some point. And look at the rust and gunk going on over there. And then this part, let me get my paper towels. I guess that falls under tools and supplies. Alright, so this lower slider, and I'll talk about the slider positions a little deeper later. It has a step down. Do you see that section over here? It has a section that comes down a little bit. And there should be a rubber boot over here. The lower pins in front have a boot on the outside. They also have a boot at the bottom, and this one doesn't have it. And I'm almost certain it's not down there hiding. Yeah, definitely not there. It's really hard to put it on, so I know it's got to be hard to take it off. Unless, no, that's corrosion right there. So I do have a spare pin. Whenever I do brake pad jobs, I usually just get some pins ready. You could either buy new ones from AutoZone, or you could just, I have a bunch of spares, that's why I get mine. So I'll hold on to this for now. I'll pull the top one. The top one looks good. It's just a solid metal rod. That's it. Oh, actually looks really new. Yeah, so these seem to have been replaced at some point. As I said, that's why they have the gold-plated bolts. So at least I was able to notice that they are not original Nissan parts. Nothing wrong with that. So usually I just do the replacement with the with the pads over here. But before replacing, I wanted to talk about another tool. So I'm gonna end up getting new pads, larger pads, and my choice this time was Duralast Gold brake pads from AutoZone, and the number is DG888. Those are the ones for the 2006 through 2010 Infiniti M's, M35, M45. They all use the same. And this is I already separated. It's not like they sold me a box with only two, but this is how they look. So you'll notice there's nothing at the bottom, and then on top, and I mean it, on top, these go to the top. You do have these brake wear sensors. The way these work is that when your pad is so thin, you end up scraping with this part of the metal. It makes a horrible screeching noise. So that's when you know that it's time to replace them. And I will explain in a little bit the importance of. So, and whenever you buy Duralast Gold, at least, they usually come with these brackets, and these brackets go onto this is the caliper up top. This is what I call the caliper bracket. I think Nissan calls this the torque arm, torque member, something like that. But then you have these two. One goes to the bottom, this one here, smooth for smooth, and then this one goes to the top. And then these ears, sometimes people bend them, ignore them, or just cut them out. These are supposed to hook over here. They're called return springs. They pull the top back out, and that's how your pads are supposed to separate. So I'll talk about this in a little more detail. From there, probably can't see it well enough, but it's something I'll talk about, and being that I think I'll end up removing that, I'll get a good opportunity to talk about it. Turns out, so another thing I wanted to mention about is the slide pins. So these are called the slide pins right here, and as I mentioned, this is rubber wears, especially as hot an environment as that is. And then I mentioned that this one here was supposed to have another boot inside. So again, as I said, I've separated this from the left and the right side, but I actually went to AutoZone. Did not have this, but O'Reilly did. The O'Reilly number is 16185, and then you get a set of this. So just like the brake pads, when you buy the pads and the boot kit and the slide pins, you usually get enough for an axle, in that you'll get enough to do the entire front. You'll get enough pads for the entire front, get enough boots for the entire front or rear, right? So here you get 3 of them, and I want to show you what these are. So here, 1 is this boot on the outside, 2, you have a similar one for the bottom, and then 3, you have this one here. See this sleeve? It's kind of skinny. Yeah, that's the one that goes right here on that, and you can tell by the length. So I will I'll probably not mess with this one. I do have a spare. As I said, I've been fortunate enough to have taken apart enough of these vehicles apart that I do have a spare, and the spare is what I'll be using to show. Alright, so we'll talk about the boot kit. I've shown you the supplies, what I got. So this right here is a spare torque arm. It's from an old vehicle. I think this is from my 08 when I went to the Akebono Big Brakes BBK. So here, this bolt here bolts the torque arm to the hub, to the hub, and it goes like this. It's kind of tricky to look at sometimes, but when you look at it this way, it says R over here, R8. The left one usually says something else, and I'll have to go look at it and find exactly what it says, but I know that the left one usually says L, at least somewhere there, right? Can you see that R over here? So at least tells you what side should go where. And I think you can install it upside down and it will work if you get the left one, but you know, in a pinch I guess you could do it, but for me it just makes more sense to go with it. So then you get these big bolts. These are 22mm heads, and Let me take those apart from the other side. For this, I need my breaker bar. And I thought there was a spot that I couldn't do it. Well, I have this is a swiveling breaker. AutoZone used to sell this 72T, but they don't carry them anymore. And it wasn't as loose, but I did something to it and it got damaged. So I went for the warranty return from AutoZone, and they told me, well, we don't sell it anymore, so are you gonna take a smaller one? I was like, no, because it's amazing, right? A swivel ratcheting breaker bar, that's amazing, right? So for that reason, I still keep it, although it's not working as originally intended. Boy, I'll tell you, that's tight. Better be loosening it. Yeah, I am. Something broke. Is it not great? So anyway, I'll be making a run to AutoZone to replace that. Well, that was a reducer. It was like, because I have this, well, we'll make it work. I don't have a long socket, a deeper socket. I just have this one, and that's why I use adapters for it. Yeah, it's gonna work. Man, that was something. There you go. So these, you have to be careful with these, especially on the way back in. If you're not careful, you'll probably end up ruining something. Like, you don't want to cross thread those. You don't. I've done it before. It was a nightmare. Okay, I'm not going to fully remove this. I wanted to show you how it actually bolts in. So, can you see this far back here? I hope so. Do you see this swinging? Because it actually bolts onto the hub first, onto the steering knuckle, through the steering knuckle, and then threads into this. So the threads are right here, right? And that's why you saw in the previous one it was supported over there. So the threads are here, but then even when you bottom out, it has to go through here, and that's what this gap is allowing for right here. Okay, so it goes through here all the way smooth, like this, and then you bolt. All right, I hope that's coming out in video. So here, this is it. This is what your assembly looks like on a normal day. The caliper goes on the outside, and the brake pads are pretty easy if you think about it. Removal, and as I said, it's for instructional purposes. I chose to remove it, but I could do it there. I just felt like the video wouldn't catch it very well. Replacing your brakes, pretty easy. Remove this, and I usually slide from the bottom, or you could just slide it all together. Comes out, right? And then you have like some, it's shaped to accept it. Look at the brake pad. See this feature over here, and see the bottom? So those go here and up here. The only challenge is that on the way in, remember, see this clip I was talking about earlier? It's a little rusted here. This one, you have to loop this one in on the way in. And the outside is usually a little tricky. Just a little trickier, because you have this arm in the way. The back is actually very easy. Just push out or whatever, then push in on the way in. Again, remembering to get caught with that clip. All right, so removal is pretty easy. And now that I've removed the brake pads, I want to talk about, the clips here. So these are the brackets I was talking about, right? Your brake pads should be sitting on these, and then on the bottom, there it is. So these are rusty, but you get it. And Something happened here. Yeah, no, it's fine. Because the piston side, it's dual pistons, are usually on the inner one, on the one closer to the car. And again, that's to keep this whatever, wear indicator up top. As I said, some people cut them off and things like that, but at that point your brake is not acting optimally as it was intended. Alright, so here, now that you've removed that, you'll be getting brakes sometime when you get thicker rotors or thicker, you know, you could see how thicker the brake pads were. Let me do this. Oh, nice catch. Compare these two brake pads. You can see this one's thicker, right? So obviously when I get two new ones of these, we're gonna end up needing more space in between. And for that reason, and also to maneuver it on, you saw how hard it was for me to pull it out? For that reason, you need to go here and push your pistons back. So what some people do is simple. They just get their old brake pads, set them on there, get a C-clamp, and push. That's one way of doing it. I actually have a tool for it. Brake spreader. I think it's faster with a C-clamp, honestly, but I just want to use this tool. It's pretty cool. It does it evenly, and that's a biggie for me. Well, let me put it down so I can expand it a little bit, and it ratchets in both directions. This is it. And so, see that? And you do this, it expands and also contracts. It needs some pressure though, so if I do this loosely, no ratcheting action. If I grab, you feel that? So that's what I use to push these back. There you go. It's caught. I like it because it grabs evenly, as I said, and then just pushes. So right here, this is kind of something to note. If for whatever reason you had added brake fluid to your brake reservoir, you better make sure that when you go to push your pistons back, you're not overflowing the reservoir up there under the hood. So I usually don't feel like adding brake fluid. If it's low, it tells you that your brake pads are too low generally, and that's when you get, you know, those wonderful lights, ABS, VDC, and whatnot. So this is it. I'm just compressing the pistons, and they still move freely, so that's a good thing. The front ones usually don't have a problem with these, you know, in these cars, but sometimes the rear pistons, the rear calipers freeze, so you kind of stuck in a situation. I switched this back, by the way. This is going forward, then I flip this. So now, enough, and there, it didn't go too far, just as I said, just enough to get it out of the way. So I'm gonna sand it down just a little bit, just brush it, actually, not really sand it. I'm gonna brush that. I'm gonna prepare the bracket for this one right here. I already cleaned it. As I said, it's a spare, so I'd already cleaned it, and I use brake clean. This is what I used. Just came with a deal when I was buying from AutoZone, but I'm not a brand name brake clean guy. Brake clean is brake clean. So I use this, and it comes with a tube. I was able to spray in there where the slide pins go, spray it over here where the brackets would go, and we really should be ready to install it now. As I said, it's taking much longer for me because of instruction, but usually shouldn't take that long. So I usually just make sure I'm not installing things against gunk. I don't know where my wire brush is. That's why. And this one was relegated from kitchen duty, so garage is a place where all the brushes pass through before getting to the trash can. Neither can I find my compressed air, so yeah, just enough to make it work. And this is after removing the bracket, you can get to the rotor. Generally, you don't need to replace the rotor often, but if you do, this is where you get to it. I'm gonna do this just because I'm curious. I'm checking something else. But as I said, a rotor is not part of brake. It's not part of brake whatever pad replacement. There you go. I'm checking the hub over here. I felt like I replaced the hub recently, but I'm not sure. Reason is, I was doing a bearing job on this vehicle. The left side is messed up, and that will be a different video if you want me to post that. Like, it'll just be a before and after. I didn't really do a brake, whatever bearing replacement. So I was just checking this to make sure that this is good. Still sounds good. I know this is not a proper bearing test, but you guys, like, you'll watch the other video and you'll see how bad the other rotor was. So this one's fine. Thing is, if I put any marks on it last year when I replaced it, they're gone. I can't see anything. So, well, as I said, it's all right, not a problem. Knock down the rust a little bit. And then install it. What do I need for this? I usually put just a dab of anti-seize for the brake rotors, just a little bit. Nothing too crazy. And I think that's why this one came out pretty easily. You can spread it or not. It's really up to you. It's gonna do what it's gonna do. Yeah, be careful with the anti-seize because it gets everywhere. It gets on everything. Okay, so I'll put this one back. And I know it's not going to want to hold itself, so I'll use one of the lug nuts just to kind of hold it in place for now. See? It quite some play. Alright, so now I'll bring this one back to support it, but not enough, not good enough for my liking. I think now we're ready to install the brake pads onto the bracket. Yeah, because I'll put the brake pads here, then push this on. It's going to be easier for me to do the brake pads first because there's greasing this and that. It just works better for me that way. So let me change my gloves. Should I bother? No, I'm not going to change them. I'll switch hands like this because we're frugal around here. So this side is dirty, right? Dirty-ish. Bingo. What dirt? Thing is, I'll be playing with grease, so I might end up throwing these gloves anyway. Perfect. Now the outside is dirty, inside clean. Alright, so grease. Let's talk about lube and grease and all those things. So I've got like 3 different types of brake. This one here is anti-seize, so I'll put this one away. Don't want to mistake and put that. I've got this synthetic grease, Caliper grease. It's like translucent blue. It's almost depleted. Well, it's really low. I've got this black gunk. It's actually really good. It stays there and it's heat resistant and all that. This one, I use it for metal to metal contact surfaces. And then there's also this one that I bought, but I'm not going to use it yet because I still have some in here. I didn't know that. But this one is Cell Glide. So it's just an option. It's looks like Vaseline. So I'll put this away for now. The main ones I'll be playing with are this one and this one, right? The black one and the bluish one. All right, so at this point, I'm not gonna go ahead and I'm not gonna bother playing with the. Let me get a seat. Okay, where was I? At this point, I'm not going to bother myself too much with the old slide pins. I'm going to use these over here. And as you can see, this one does look a little more oxidized compared to the other one. This one here is what the bottom one looks like. And again, remember, the one with an extra bushing, with an extra gap, goes to the bottom. So you guys remember the kit I was talking about, the ones we bought here? Yeah, so this is how it goes. This part right here, the top, takes, and you'll buy boots that look different, but then this one here has got like notches at the bottom, and at the top it looks like it's a little tighter at the top. Generally, the tighter one goes to the pin, right? So don't install it this way, if this is visible to you. Install this boot the other way, okay? Just take my word for it, it just works better. So there's a lip, and for these boots I go dry here instead of lubing them first. It's just a lot messier in my experience. And then this one here, likewise. It's kind of high up there at the lip, but so maybe this one is a good candidate for a little bit of lube, just a little bit. But either way, it's the tighter side that we'll be working with. Yeah, I don't, as I said, it's just a preference. I don't like working with it too messy. A lot of this. There's going to be a lot of turning as I move with these. Hey, there you go. Boom, perfect. Alright, so that's it. And as I said, the flowery whatever side at the bottom. At this point, let's go ahead and lube them. Lube the whole shaft. I put a little bit of lube at the tip, then a lot on the shaft. If I had my way, I would like concentrate all of it at the tip, like on end, because that's what goes into the hole, and then it just usually finds a way to self-lube, basically. So this one goes to the top, remember? And then sometimes you have to hold it and basically say, this is how it's gonna go. See, I already failed. Not like that. It's gonna go this way. Like this. So this is the top. Alright, and then, so I'll insert it here. Again, there's a lot of turning motion. Let me just do what you shouldn't do first, and then you'll see, I'll explain why. Pushed, right? See that? See how it springs back out? Yeah, you don't want that. So let me pull it back out. Okay, and while that's going on, I'm gonna put a little more lube. There is such a thing as over greasing, by the way, just so you know, but we're not at risk of doing that right now, because usually I know that I insert it once and have to insert it again to get enough grease over there. I'm not putting like enough grease to have it squeeze all the way out, but just enough. Okay, so right around here, right, what I usually do, I'm moving it up, down, just as best as I can. There you go. I felt like a bubble. That was like, it farted basically. So whatever air was in there escaped, right? So, and squeezing this helps because any air that's there is gonna escape. Then push it on. And now I can release the boot. Perfect. So right now it's tight, and being that I already squeezed the boot, right, it has no air. It it's got vacuum. When I do this, it pulls itself. Notice that? So yeah, that's one thing I always try to do. Just make sure that I do have, it still slides, and that's the important thing. You want it to be able to slide, right? So this will be the bottom, and for the bottom, let's get the pin ready. I already slid this over, right? But remember, we have yet another part of the boot, which when you take your stuff to a shop, most times they just, you know, rush through the project. They'll probably reuse your stuff if it's not torn, you know, unless you take it to an Infiniti dedicated place like a dealership or like an independent for Infiniti specifically. You know, they will have these parts handy. They'll know exactly what you're gonna do, and that's why you make appointments, so that they buy the stuff that they need. And yeah, this one's, as I said, it's tough to find it missing. You know that someone took it off or something. Thing is, when they wear, they can get a little loose, as was shown in my other video, and then people just don't bother installing them. Perfect. Would lube have helped here? Not for me. Alright, so there it is. Again, I'll do the same thing I did to the other one, which is lube the shaft a little bit, the shank. Put a glob on the tip. Alright, then send it down there. We already talked about what you shouldn't do, so I'll squeeze this as I go in. By squeezing, I'm talking about this boot right here. Squeeze it, pull it back. Alright, so it slides, right? But I feel like it needs more. So as I said, historically, see, it still has a glob of grease at the bottom. Historically, what I usually do is I just do it twice. Okay, so bottomed out to the best of my ability, but as you can see, it's still there. So I'll just do it again. And this time I aim to throw as much grease on the tip. Have this ready. It's about to become very important. In fact, I'll just cut a few more pieces while I have this handy. There you go. Has a little bit of spring, but not much. See, there was so much lube, it's squeezing it out. Alright, so first use, let's get this here. Wipe off the excess lube. So this is stuff that you usually do with this caliper mounted there, with the bracket mounted on the hub. When I do my brake jobs, I go all out. If I run a shop doing brakes, only brakes, man, I don't know if it'll be profitable, because I spend time on brakes. I want to do it right, you know. This is like a life and death thing, and I feel like sometimes shops just kind of rush you in, rush you out, and, you know, go on your way. Alright, so then the next thing is here. As I said, I use the black grease for metal to metal contact, and man, this stuff is like, you know, you ever played with RTV? It just goes everywhere. Looks like tar, honestly. I do this for the bottom, just the depression and the top surface, right? The inner surface and the lube gap there. Again, flip it over, inner surface, and the plateau. Same thing here. I want to say don't go crazy with this. It is going to go crazy by itself anyway. Alright, so I need to wipe the insides as best as I can. Okay, so here we go. And then remember, this one goes to the top, the one with the wings. And then this one, the other one goes to the bottom. So here, the one to the top, make sure I know what the top is, right? And make sure that I put the one with the extra boot at the bottom. So here at the top, this is what happens. This is the top right here. So this is what I'm focusing on. Even when I flip it over, I know where I'm aiming for. All right. So this one right here, the busier side goes towards the inside, like this. And it pretty much seats itself. I'm just pushing it in. It has features that help it just situate itself. And there it is. Looks kind of like the other one, just cleaner. And then here's the bottom one. So I wanted to do a different kind of video. Didn't speed it up. Didn't rush through anything. Kind of call out all the tools I'm using. You know, this is how long. Brake jobs are pretty simple, but you know, it is what it is. With regards to how perfect of a job are you trying to do. I'll set this down for now. And I guess another thing I'm happy that happened is that the tool broke. Realities of work. Sometimes you're working, tools break and things like that. You know, how extensive is your tool collection basically? Alright, so I'll work with the easier side first, which is the inside. Again, remember, you have to kind of, it helps when you put the wings at the top because you know this goes to the top, but remember that your calipers do go like this, right? The curvature is the same in this case. So with these, I usually grease them just a little bit. Again, it's for metal to metal contact for me. So up top, oh, that's a lot. And at the bottom. Basically, whatever it is you did to the bracket, you do to the to the clips as well. But then in this case, it's gonna be these. All right. So now here, I need to loop this as I go in. You can bend it later. It's just that this thing is so messy. And if you use a different kind of lube, obviously it's not gonna be as bad as this. It's just that it's what I choose to use. Well, kinda, I bought it, so I'm not wasteful. I kinda die with my choices, suffer with my choices. All right, so here, you know, there's so many angles. I don't know if it's all gonna show up, but then you slide this in here. Came off. Okay, so this one slid in, right? It's fine. I noticed that I need to wipe this off. And those are some of the downs. Thankfully, this grease works with the rubber components as well. It's just, I prefer to not get it messy all over. So here, this one did not catch. What I'm gonna do is force it in this way. Look at that. Imagine doing that without gloves. So it could get messy. See, if it were the blue grease, I wouldn't worry about it. It would be easy to just basically just keep working and just correct it later. No, I'm just gonna redo this. I've already shown what I'm trying to do, so forgive me if it doesn't all come out in video. started to jump out again. I mean, I'm using gloves. I shouldn't be afraid of this stuff. Again. I'm gonna put my finger on it. It's just that I don't want to get the lube on the contact surfaces. And remember I said that this was the easier side? What a joke, huh? Alright, there you go. This one's in. Well, all good. Didn't grease everything, you know. Didn't get everything all messy. And these are the things like when I'm doing a video project, you know, you speed through, cut and edit things, and I don't show you all the mess. But I would say in my videos, I usually try to show you that this is where you could struggle, this is where you could suffer, you know, but as I said, I don't know what got into me. I think just with time, seeing the audience or the kind of people, or the you know, the different skill levels that of people that watch my videos. We have shop technicians watching my videos. We have novices, right? We've got people who've never really done anything to a car, and they tell me that I just watched your video and this is the first time I've used wrenches or whatever. And I like my videos to be able to serve everybody equally, you know? So I tell you all the good and the bad, and I want you to look at this, and you know, maybe you watch it and you're like, yeah, I'm not gonna spend half an hour doing this. Let me just pay somebody else to do it. You know, that's no shame in that. There are things I don't do myself. I just pay other people to do that other people would look at and say, what? You pay someone to mow your lawn? Why can't you do it yourself? Well, because I'd rather do this. If I mowed my own lawn, I'd pay someone else to do my brakes, right? There's just not enough time to do it all in a day. Alright, so here, and I can honestly say I'm not looking forward to this one. Because of this arm right here, it gets a little tricky. Whatever issues I was having on the other side, I'm going to have them here, and then some. So I like to do this other side. In case it falls off, I can redo it. This side is a little harder to get to, you know. I'm going to say that then end up being so simple. And the reason is that I have to... Oh, okay, well, wait a minute. There you go. I have to work around this arm right here. So what I'm doing is installing it here, kind of getting the top hooked, swinging it over through the bottom, which I'm going to have to wipe up later. Right? Still hooked. Alright, then push the top in, then pull the bottom out. Okay, so this is what happens at the bottom. When it gets to the bottom, one thing that you usually have to do is pull this clip this way to allow it to go all the way through. So let's do this again. Grab it at the top. Swing it over. Get it there. I'm sorry if this part is not showing on video. My knee height is already preset, you know. Perfect. I think I got it. I know sometimes it fights me way more than it's fought me here, but now I'm all hooked in. Great. Well, at least we know it's going to slide properly, right? And you've seen the clip pull it out. What I was trying to show off is that the clips were engaged and they would pull out the brake pads if needed. So obviously it works. They work. The return clips. Can't do it. Can't give up. I guess part of what's taking me long, as I said, it's just trying to do this for video. is a different vibe to it, you know. At least I know what I'm doing. It's just that when I'm trying to show what I'm doing as well, it's a little different. You might have better methods, by the way. As long as what I'm trying to do is get this clip in there, then push this one in. I had it. What happened? Okay, at this point I'm gonna pause, clean my gloves, make sure I don't get anything messy that I shouldn't. As I said, this is the part that you end up using. I think we're getting close to an hour, honestly. Yeah, it did start at 25. It's now like 10:20. Okay, let's do it again. Man, that was so easy. Let me explain what I did this time. Two hands, right? Okay, so pull it out. So what I did is push this clip down, hook, push in over here, and then at the bottom I just slid it over. It works just so, it's crazy how it worked. I know usually you don't have to do that, or can't usually do that. Alright, so next step, hook this on, bolt it onto the hub. Here, so this one's going to go through at the bottom, this one's going to go through at the top. Hold this over here, have it centered. The point is that I want these to go over, and right now looking at me thinking it's probably silly that why didn't I just do this on here. As I said, I didn't want to get things greasy, and I just wanted to show what the whole process is about. But you'll notice that if you did it that with the while bolted on with the, you know, before removing the bracket, you just push it against the rotor and it wouldn't fall through. But you've seen that the problem with me wasn't falling through, it was falling back out, right? So I usually go for the top one first. Whoa, 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 there you go. Well, today I might do the bottom one. But whatever you do, make sure it feels loose and easy. The top one's caught. Ish. Yeah, it's there. Okay, let's do the bottom one. So they don't run off. Can you see the top? The return clips are pulling them out a little bit. And then, now that you have the slide pin at the bottom, so this is how you pull the top. And the bottom is supposed to just basically just kind of ride and float. And that's why these are these smooth channels that your brake pads slide on, right? Okay, so here I want to be very, very specific and really stress this. Hand tighten them. On the way in, you do not want to cross thread anything here. So hand tighten till, you know, you see enough depth disappear. Feels pretty good to me at this point. But still, I'm not going to use a tool yet. I'm just getting that so I can get a better handle on it with the socket. And you can see the bracket straightening itself. Alright, so there it is. I said the torque here to go for is 98 foot-pounds. And I also mentioned that, take it from me, I'm very well calibrated for my torque. It's just like a lug nut. If you're lifting the car, you're probably doing great. Except on a lug nut, you shouldn't. Okay, there you go. That's that part. The next part is more lube. This time is the non-messy stuff. Stuff I don't mind getting everywhere. Or getting anywhere. So this one here, and what you do is, I just do this to lubricate the action between the pads and the caliper. So here you go. I just lube the inside. Since the grease is okay with rubber components, I don't freak out too much about the way I apply it. Do this liberally. I apply it on the surface of the pistons and these three claws on the other side, on the opposite side. There you go. And the three claws are what you end up seeing here, right? The gaps in between these gaps, which you see on these calipers, on these pads. And then the other side, you see the two pistons eating through. So the fact that they eat through, you know, kind of want to be able to allow them to not stick, basically. All right, so now at this point, let's just go for this. Put them back over. Remember this part where I swung it over, right? Swung it on top. I just want to be able to slide it on. And it was able to slide on because I remembered to open up my pistons. All right. So here you also need to do a little bit of balancing. Lift this. It's there. If you keep pulling, it'll pull all the way out, by the way. Then at the bottom, if I can find the other one. There's plenty in the garage. Yeah, I just didn't want to lose them. There it is. So I guess two things. Why do I like buying the gold brakes? Duralast gold, because one, they come with almost everything you need. You don't have to buy your hardware separately. Two, they have that limited lifetime warranty. And I think the technical purpose is that if they wear out faster than you're supposed to, you take them in faster than they're supposed to. You take them in, get replacements. So usually what they want you to do is take your brake pads, take the worn ones to AutoZone, you know, and then they'll give you new ones. They judge, well, these are worn or these are whatever it is. So, but I think it just depends on your relationship with them. You can usually buy something and do it as a return or something like, because not everybody has the opportunity to take off your brake pads and then somehow have transportation to go to AutoZone and be like, yep, these are the ones I need to replace. Can I get replacements now? You know? So there are things you can do creatively. As I said, go there, buy a box of with the pads that you need, come home, and then take the other ones and say, yep, could you make it a return on the other thing? But again, that's beyond the scope of today's video. Today's video is that you have the pads and everything, so you're just trying to make it work now. Then the 14 millimeters over here. Torque value 20 foot-pounds. There you go. Now, in the beginning, I said that I thought there was a problem because there was no slide. Can you see now how much slide you get? Well, obviously, right now, these are not fully hooked in. And what I'm going to do, let me go stomp on the brakes. I'll zoom this in, and you'll see how closer they get once I stomp on the brakes over there. Okay, hopefully you can see stuff. Alright, I'll open the door, get on the brakes, and sometimes you can hear them like clap. I don't know if anything's shown up, but, well, that's that. While I'm here, I'll just go ahead and turn the wheel back so I can mount the wheel, the tire. Alright, so that's our brake job in a nutshell. Took way longer, but I had said that today's video wasn't going to be like a how-to. It was just going to be a vlog of me doing the job, you know, for myself, and this is how long it ended up taking me. Alright, so I hope if you end up watching this video, there's one or two things that you'll take away. You know, that you can take away one or two things of value to yourself, but if not, let me know. As I said, I know it's taking quite a long time, you know, just trying to slide those pads on, but that's the way I chose to do the work. And that kind of gave an example of what you do if you end up replacing your rotors as well. But for what I was doing, it was fine. So, and I hope you were able to see even after it's clapped down, there's still some sliding motion. And that's why you need your pads, one, to be able to slide there, and two, your guide pins need to be able to slide as well. So we're at about 1 hour 5 minutes. I started at 9:25-ish, and I'm stopping, you know, I'm almost done at 10:30-ish. As I said, take off 40% of that time because it was spent on instruction, but as you can see, really just three tools: 21 millimeter, 22 for the big bolts for the bracket, and 14 for the caliper for the guide pins. Right. So that's about it, and of course a torque wrench for the torque values going in. So for now though, I'm done. Let's go ahead and install, remount the wheel, install the wheel. And I don't know what's happening, by the way. This wheel, it's peeling. I was looking around to see if I could see any leaks or anything, but no, looks okay. Because sometimes brake fluid leaking will cause issues like this. So it's something I noticed that it's not going to give me sleepless nights, but obviously I'm going to have to get an exit plan for it. All right, let's hoist this. Okay, 21 millimeters and the lug nuts. Oh, there it is. Can you hear that? Sounds pretty rough, right? Even when I'm not tightening, I do the skip one method to fasten my bolts. As I said, I don't use this tool for torque purposes. It's going to get loud and just ratchet itself silly. I generate more torque with my bare hands. So I'm just grabbing here and skip one. Skip one. This is not 100%. It's good for now. So what I'm going to do is, as it is, lower the vehicle, then do final tightening. So when it comes to tightening, if you're not going to use a torque wrench, it's advisable to use the lug wrench given to you by the factory, because you don't want to exert too much force. And at that point, it's a calculation. You know what the average, I think 90 foot-pounds is what they want you to tighten to. Assuming the average male has like 100 can exert 100 pounds of force, pull force, that is. And then you have the length of the arm. Just go for like, 9 inches and just pull. You can check that with a torque wrench if you want, but it's been extensively tested to be good enough. So obviously, I'm just laying over the hood because I'm trying to leave enough space for the video to see what I'm doing. The camera, I mean. So what I'm saying is that you don't want to stand on it, because everyone, people have different weights, and if everybody were to stand at the end of their breaker bar or whatever it is, the amount of force would be exerting would be crazy, right? Because I can still go further, see, but that's with a push. A pull is a little different, right? And that's why maybe you need a torque wrench at that point to say, this is exactly what I'm going for. And the other part I was going to say was that being aluminum wheels, after about, I think they say 50 miles or so, retorque them again. All right. So that's it. That's pretty much the end of the video. I think I'm going to do a little more. I'm going to bed the brakes, and bedding brakes is actually a very important thing. Let me do it. Let me just finish this up. I'm not gonna stop the video because I don't want to do any editing, but I'm gonna finish up and we'll talk about it in a bit. Trying to find my door opener. Oh well, door opener be damned. Guess I'll just roll out. I thought I had one. I did have it. I don't know where it went to. Better bring this flashlight with me in case something hits the fan. Oh, I was gonna check the oil level too. I was gonna do that before driving. I was gonna say perfect opportunity, being that the car has been sitting in this. Great, and just put the flashlight away, didn't I? The car's been sitting for a while. Let's check the oil level. Just below high, so that's good. Alright, so we're good to drive. Let's go for a drive. And this is a part that I said it's pretty important but sometimes gets ignored, which is bedding the brakes. Bedding the brakes, you heard that squeal, and I lost the opportunity to kind of keep spinning the wheel, you know, after I tightened the lug nuts the first time. Oh my! Watch my. How do I show this light? There you go. My foot fell all the way to the floor. All the way to the floor. And usually at this time, sometimes your brakes don't even work. So if I'm not careful, why is it revving so high? If I'm not careful, I could end up running into the other vehicles over there. The other vehicle. So usually, like right after replacing your brakes, you better be careful. Better clear the M. I was gonna clear, but that's my baby, so I'm gonna treat it better. I'm gonna go wide. Again, this is a different kind of video than what I usually do, but it was more vlog style. Just more a day in the life of, right? This is what really happens behind the glamorous finished videos. Man, I do have like a door opener. It's really bothering me. M56 project. It's not something I've talked about. Alright, so let's get the... You guys want to see my keypad, my code? Nah, I'm not going to show that. Okay, so let's roll out. So now, the whole aim of bedding your brakes, we're like at 1 hour 20 minutes of video. The aim of bedding your brakes is to make sure that there's a nice contact surface between the pads and the rotors. All right, so let me, as I said, get out of here. Despite all the driveway space that I have, I feel like I need more. Okay. So during the bedding session, I'll do my best to not stomp on the brakes. No brake, you know, I'll just glide. I will not stomp the brakes to the very bottom. Just basically slide. And this is going to be interesting because this is a new area. It's like the first time I'm doing something like this. When I lived in Illinois, I had a really nice place where I just do all these shenanigans. I knew I would drive and like go 0 to 60 real quick, then just slide all the way to 20, then take off again. And that was the whole purpose. You get to a point like your brakes are stinking, you know, because you're really burnishing the pads in a unique manner. Uh-oh. So they got places to be. Okay, let's do it. So at some point I'll just basically ride my brakes. Thankfully there's no one behind me, so I get to 60, ride the brakes. And you still have to let them cool. Get to 70, ride them. I'm hitting my brakes right now, you can see the lights, but I'm not stopping, you know. It's just, if I could have stopped more aggressively, but that's not the point right now. The point is just to kind of cruise, you know, just cruise, easy, easy. As long as no lights stop me. Oh, nope, we're going. As I said, it's a little tricky to do this in a new area, new environment, but yeah, we'll get it. The brakes are going to be so hot by the time I'm done. Oh, on ramp. I can hear a little bit of clunk up front. It's like control arm loose or something like that. Not 100% certain. Ball joint worn. And I guess that's what happens when you have really good brakes. Now everything else that has been a problem and hiding ends up coming out, right? And this car scoots. I think this is gonna be my brake bedding in highway. I'm gonna do it one more time, like from 80 down to like 10. Go. But don't fully stop, because you don't want to end up damaging your rotors. What I'm doing right now is, now I'll just cruise for a while. The purpose of the cruise is to just allow the rotors to cool down. So yeah, we're going to 1.5 hours on one brake. It's not usually this long, but as I said, for me, my brake jobs are not just slapping brake pads and going on. No, it's about making sure everyone that was supposed to have a boot gets a boot. The guide pins slide like they're supposed to, and it goes with the test drive. So remember, I told you, I don't know if you could really feel it. It's a sensation that I can't really transmit by video, but my pedal fell all the way to the floor. So sometimes these guys, you know, especially when you go to those quick lube or whatever places, they replace your brakes and then just give you your car and like, okay, on your way, keep going. So I've heard of situations where you get your brakes replaced and pretty much feel like going back because you're like, hey, what's going on? These brakes are not engaging at all. They're worse than they were when I came in. Yes, they're not making noise, but boy, they are not catching. But by the time you get enough time to make a U-turn and go back, they're doing better because you've been, you know, going and pumping and pumping and pumping. And hopefully you're not like, you don't come out of a shop and get on the highway, quick sprint to like whatever 100, then try to emergency brake, because yeah, I got news for you, that's not going to end properly. But if you're doing something like this, you know, easy, slow, it's working pretty well. Like I can feel, I'm doing my best not to come to a full stop, so I did a California roll over there, but, or I guess a Missouri roll, since that's home in the state. Well, if I got out of the car right now and just tried to, I guess, smell the brakes, first the front brakes are gonna be so hot, and then two, it's just gonna be like they're gonna stink. This is definitely an interesting intersection. No. It's a weird buzz in the back. I think it's been cooling down enough that I can kind of test it, bring it to an abrupt stop. I'm sure the car behind me was like, whoa, what happened there? I don't know what it is about these cars, but the 2006 M45s that I've had, 2006 and 2007, they get up and go. I bet like top speed and all the other time, whatever other stats you look at are probably similar. Oh shoot, I didn't know I was going that fast. I'm sure your top speed and all, and see, that's the thing, like you end up driving so fast, like I can't really tell. This car is pretty smooth. So I was saying that I'm sure the stats are pretty similar, but the 2006, 2007 M45s feel much lighter than my 2008 and 2009, 10, whatever. They just feel like they're a little more nimble. As I said, on paper, there's probably not much difference. I know it's the same engines and all that, but that's, you know, I guess it's a feeling I can't shake. So let me try to bring it to a pretty aggressive stop. Terre Haute. I hope I've not mentioned the date at any point during this video. Yep, sure did. It's good. It's good, man. It's really good. Being that this is a sport model, like it dances around corners really nicely. It's the sport models behave a little better about kicking their you know, their rears out, kicking the ass when, you know, into a slide. You can do it, yeah, but since they have rear steer, they just tend to steer into the corners a little better. Sometimes it's a weird feeling. It feels like you're sliding out, but when you look at the dash, no lights are on. It's just scooting ahead, you know. I'm almost home. someone's pulling out. Thankfully, I've got good brakes, right? Whoa, that was sharp. Whatever was in the backseat like got tossed around. So I'll tell you though, the reason I'm kind of stopping, one of the reasons I'm stopping short with this vehicle is that it stops, even with the new pads, the braking takes a little longer than my other vehicles. I guess both my vehicles have Akebonos, but you know, those don't really matter much compared to having new pads and rotors, right? And obviously these are old rotors, but new pads. The wearing, I have no question or no concerns with regards to how the rotor's wearing. I think they're just what people call warped rotors. There's no like extra deposits to cause vibrations from the rotors themselves, but there is, you know, they're just older. That's it. And you know, that shouldn't be a problem in itself. So I think now that I'm back home, it's really game over. I think at 1.5 hours I've done enough. Anything that I could do for the car has been done by now. All right, so I think it's easy. Turn off the camera, and I guess I'll check the rotors again. I'll just check through the spokes, make sure everything looks good. But I know for sure that they stink by now. They have to. Yeah, I can smell the brake pads. Why do I keep leaving a flashlight? Look at that. And there's nothing to see here, but if there was smoke, or you could hear something grinding, we would have problems, but that's not the case, not today. Looks good. There's that line, you can see that faint line over there, because now your pads are engaging where the other ones could not, or were not, but I think we'll be fine. And plus, there's a little bit of over greasing or over lubing that's gonna kind of get there, but I think otherwise we're fine. We're good. All right, so that's it. Good night, y'all. Enjoy whatever's left of your Saturday.